because what we're building today is our children's future. And I want to make sure that the future of our children is very, very important. You guys are important too, but remember, you've lived 3/4 of your life, and I hope another 3/4. But right now, we need to worry about our children's future and what's going on in this city. Our children are very important to us. Like I said, I have 10 of them. Only 2 of them live here. I'll try to get them back, but they all work up north, so. But being involved in the city, like Henry said, and like Vince said, all 3 of us are very, very involved with the city. We've been doing it from day one, and we continue to do it. We're out there day in and day out, doing what we can, listening to what you guys have to say, and we do appreciate it. Public safety, I'm very engaged with public safety. I am the only candidate that is actually endorsed by fire, police, and the mayor. So I am all about public safety. What does a safe city bring you? Brings you economic development. And we focus on economic development here. The other thing is, with economic development, I'm also part of a small business here in the city. So I do work with a lot of people probably in this room. I might have walked in your door talking about plumbing stuff and stuff like that. But again, I am very engaged, and I will continue to be engaged. And thank you for the last 4 years, and I look forward to getting 4 more years.
Just in time.
All right, then I'm Adam, guys. Obviously, maybe many of you don't know who I am. Again, that I've been in the city 15 years. That my goal here is ultimately, I've never been on city council. I'm not like any of them. I like to see change, right? Clearly, there are things that the city needs that are missing. And in my time of 15 years here, I've seen a lot. Things are said, not done, and my goal, which I work really hard, I'm passionate about the city, and I want to see the city be the best it can possibly be. And I'll leave it as that. Thank you.
So efficient. Okay, so who's got the first question? All right, I'm gonna start right over there. Can you talk loud?
Yes.
It's hard to get the mic everywhere.
I have $4, I talk loud.
Okay, who's the question for?
It's kind of for all of them.
Okay,
These new apartments that are coming in, how many are gonna be Section 8? And why are we being told that they're for the young professionals, when actually, how many young professionals do we have in Maricopa? We don't have that many. Who's gonna move into those apartments? And those aren't the only apartments coming into town. I don't have a thing about apartments, but there's a surge of apartments coming into this town. I live off of Porter. You've got all the schools dumping on the Porter. You've got all the homes dumping onto Smith-Enke. Now you've got all the poor houses, apartments dumping onto Porter. I can't get out of Porter right now before those people get their apartments. I can't get out of Smith-Enke right now. What is gonna happen? So it's kind of a 2-point question.
okay, I'll repeat it if that's all right. So that's a packed question.
Yeah.
So regarding apartments, who's gonna live in the apartments? How many young professionals do we have that will live in those apartments? What about the traffic that the apartments create? Porter is already a disaster, and how are we going to fix that problem? Because the schools also like to park on Porter as well. That's my little addition there. So anyway, that's the basis.
The first part of the question, how many are Section 8?
Oh, yes, and thank you. And how many of the apartments are Section 8? All right.
Sure. Okay, first of all, 0, Section 8. None. We are no Section 8, 0.
How long is that gonna be?
Well, we don't see it in the future, and I'm not for Section 8 housing, but we do need affordable, okay? Affordable is the key word. Who's gonna live in them? Great question. When you say young professionals, I wanted to start off, how many people live in an apartment? Ever in their life? Ever in their life? Okay, there you go. When you got out of high school, where did you end up living in? An apartment. And all of a sudden, apartments have become bad to certain people. I know you said you're not against them. When we say young professionals, we have people who are graduating from high school when a Home Depot or Lowe's or some other types of stores that you all like come to Maricopa, which we have a lot of them coming. I didn't say Lowe's and Home Depot. Please don't run around saying Lowe's and Home Depot. But what I'm getting at is, you have people making $15, $16 an hour. They can't afford a house. Are people, I hear people are gonna drive from Phoenix down to here to our apartments to go drive back up to Phoenix. No, come on, that's not gonna happen. So people who are getting out of high school, they don't wanna live with their parents. And guess what? A lot of us parents don't want them living with us anymore. Okay, so we did it for 18, 19 years, or 20 years, or sometimes Vince, I think you're up into what, 23 years? 24 years, mine lived to me until 22 years. But when we say affordable, we're talking about places that these people can work in. We have single nurses, we have single doctors, we have single police officers, firefighters, whatever you, people who are by themselves. They need a place to live. And look, prices of houses have gone through the roof, okay? So they need a place to live too. Now, if we don't build these, not us specifically, but if we don't allow them to come, who's gonna work in these? How many people in here wanna go work in one of these places? Wow, look at all the hands. Well, guess what? Our 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds need a place.
Yeah, Rich just mentioned my daughter. She's 24 years old. She works a really good job. She's doing really well. The problem is she's not doing well enough to buy a house yet. She's 24 years old. She's single. She has a boyfriend, but I don't want to buy a house together. Do you? So she's gonna need an apartment one day, but she works in Florence, right? So she's not getting an apartment in Casa Grande. I won't allow that. Ugh, Casa Grande. And she's not going up to the valley to drive to Florence every day, so she needs an apartment, and that makes sense to have something for them. We have, in this school district alone, MUSD, 85 teachers will be foreign teachers next year, 85. And when we first started that program just a few years ago, it was 3 foreign teachers. When you're a foreign teacher, you come to this country to teach, right? And then you go home at the end of the school year and you come back. Those are called apartments. We need those. So for those foreign teachers, our police officers, they do not start at $150,000 a year. They start at a little over 50. Our fire department, our teachers, everyone that works in the city of Maricopa, these are not high-paying jobs, right? So whether you work in the library or city hall or whatever it is, you need a place to live. And when you create a place where people can live, work, and play, you create a community. So apartments are part of a community. Now, I lived in an apartment when I first moved to Arizona. I don't think I'm garbage. I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm the guy going on spray painting like I see on when people see spray paint on the walls. They're like, it's the apartments. I'm like, no, it's not. I know some of the people that live in those apartments. They're not spray painting anything. And the spray painting was here well before the apartments were built. So what we need is the ability for people to get out of their parents' home. What we need is the ability for young professionals, and we have tons of them. And when you look at teachers, the school district alone has 700 employees. The city of Maricopa has over 400 employees, going up to 400 employees. Harazak Chin, and everything else, all the farms, we have people that need apartments. And there's about 2,000 of them permitted right now.
Thank you.
So it seems like all the answers, the question has been answered pretty much, so. Porter. I live in Glenwild as well.
Yeah.
So I run every day, or walk every day now. Who knew? So, I walk every day by the kind of park and see the kids going to the schools, crossing the street there and going across the street to the schools, and they concern me. And that is why I expressed my concern before. Many of you may have been in that city council meeting where I expressed that concern. But it's inevitable. It is going to happen. Just when we first started talking about apartments many years ago, when we had a housing study and we studied the need for apartments, guess what? The need was there. It continues to exist. And I have to agree with my council members that the young professionals want a place of their own. They can't afford to purchase a home, but they can afford to live in an apartment for a period of time. What we have to be conscious of and recognize is we have to be responsible in our growth process, in our zoning process. We have to make sure that we make good decisions for the developers and ensure that the developers make good decisions when they're coming into our community to build. That's what we need to do to make sure, because the apartments are going to come. So we have to be responsible in how they come. We have to be responsible to public safety and how we respond to how we carry ourselves in that arena, that driving arena where many, many cars. You can't get through. My grandson went to Saddleback, and there was many times where I couldn't get through to get him to school because of the traffic, because people violating the traffic rules. And the city council, city manager has put out a plan, working together with public safety, to try to make sure that we have smart choices. We have smart choices about how we get access into the schools. So I'm with you on that. I'm right there with you. I know it's important, but I know that it's going to happen.
I'm not too sure. Okay, I'm not too sure if they answered everything. I think you had Porter apartments, and was there anything else?
Section 8, they did answer that.
Okay, so Porter, school's there, right? Kids go to school, they go there in the morning, and they have to, parents go there, drop off the kids, have to wait in line, pick them up. I'm originally from the east. There, they had buses. Go to each house, pick up the child, go to school, drop them off, that's what it is. I think when those schools were actually built and designed, how that roads are, they're not really made to take that many parents because everyone's going to their job and so on. There's no carpooling with kids. It's every single one parent and their child or children in line, dropping them off. Come back, pick them up, same thing. My recommendation would be, A, make a committee of all the schools with the principal, with the vice principal, come together and say, hey, what can we really do to make this in fact better on a regular basis for safety? And is there a way to bring busing? And I'll leave it as that.
Can I just say 3 seconds or something? That whole thing?
Yes, so we actually did speak about, and at the council, we are very concerned and we are holding the schools accountable. So that's one thing I want to make sure you guys know. We all have the same concern. We are going to hold every school accountable for what's going on.
And just to finish up, you can't give politicians a microphone and expect them to shut up, can you? Just to follow up really quickly. Busing is very important. In the city, we have busing. MUSD has busing. Sequoia Pathway just added busing. Charter schools can add busing if they want to. They're not required to, and a lot of them don't. But MUSD has busing for anyone outside the 1 mile area. The cool part is when you have apartments coming in on Porter, those schools, especially MUSD schools, they can hold a certain amount of kids, right? That's it. So they're full right now. The kids that come in on Porter in the apartments are gonna go to those schools because they're gonna be districted to those schools. The kids that are currently living in places like Acacia Crossing or something like that are not gonna go to those schools anymore. That means the kids from the apartments will be walking to those schools. And the parents driving from Acacia Crossings or from Desert Passage that go to Butterfield right now, they won't be going there. They'll be redistributed to the schools closer to them,
Okay.
which is less traffic.
Thank you very much. That's a good clarification, but thank you. Henry, I'll let you go first on that one, please.
My only thought about that, Peg, is that I have to put confidence in the city manager and the city manager's programs that he's going to do the best that we need for the community. Now, that doesn't mean we don't hold him responsible for that. There has to be considerable oversight to ensure that revenue is being used by his department, is being used in the way that we need for it to be used. I believe that we do have a handle on the city manager. I believe that he acts in good spirit for what he's doing for the city. I do believe also that when we generate revenue, regardless of which program gets it, that we have to have good oversight. I put confidence also in the Budget and Finance Committee. And I'm hesitant where the funds are going. I believe that they're going to go to programs that are necessary for us in our continued growth and development. How do we make sure that that happens? By strong oversight. It's the same with anything, I think, at this point, that the city manager or any city council or any other programs should be responsible for. They should know that there are eyes upon them, if you will, that we're concerned that I believe that my fellow council members and myself will put it in check.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Peg. Police and fire, as well as emergency services, all of it combined, does take up the entire amount of money that we pay in primary property taxes. Takes it all. right? Every penny of it has gone to that. We're hiring 4 new officers this year alone, as well as other staff at the police department, to allow us to ensure that we're meeting the demands of the people. When I speak with the chief, he doesn't complain to me about the budget. He says it's what he needs. He doesn't complain to me about the number of officers he has. I've asked him, how many do you need? He's told me how many he needs. Ideally, he wants more, of course. Everybody wants more. But unfortunately, there are budget constraints that are involved in it. But we do have the police and fire. We spend a nice chunk of our budget, more than half of our budget on total public safety. When you look at police, fire, dispatch services, all of it's combined. So, police and fire are different than the dispatch. You put that in there. You put in all the other programs that we have that are part of public safety. So I'm happy to sit down with the budget with anyone. I've had people come to my office and we've sat down and gone over the budget. We've looked at the CIP, we've looked at the cars that we're buying, we looked at the police cars we're buying and all the equipment we're buying. We've gone through it all, and we've spent, Nancy and I, and before Christian Price, have spent a lot of time on our budget finance subcommittee, tons of hours, and making sure that we are providing a budget that is smart, that is, that spends our money wisely and is smart. When you look at it, we don't have unlimited money. We're not Phoenix, right? We can't just make money out of nowhere, right? So we have to make sure we're spending the money that we do get correctly. And on our CIP side of the budget, which Peg didn't mention the CIP is these capital improvement plans. That's over $120 million budget, and 49% of it, I believe, actually it's like 49 point something % of it is being used on transportation and infrastructure. So that's improving the roads and such over the next 5 years. Thank you.
Okay, I was not of. I'm sorry, but I look at it as here, our first responders, police, fire, and obviously on my flyer, if you look in the back of it, something the city's been lacking a long time is its own ambulance. And that would be one of my goals to try to get done, is to bring its own ambulance within Maricopa, not a for hire, but its own. And I'll leave it as that. Thank you, guys.
Well, like I said in the beginning, public safety is one of my main #1 platforms that I do run on. As for ambulances, which is a great thing, we have been talking about it for about 2 years. We're looking at several $100,000 per ambulance. And we'll probably start off with 1 or 2. They may be used, but we are definitely going to have that in this city, because we all already want it. We've all spoken about it for the last 2 years. They're very expensive. As for roads here, again, we spend a lot, like $128 million is what we are budgeting for over the next 5 years. We'll be fixing, as you already saw, we have the groundbreaking. So to Peg's question about, what was it, the one portion you said, Peg, just to remind me?
Office of Business Management, which is basically the city manager's office.
So we are hiring more employees. We are very, very short-staffed. And that's where the good majority of it's going. Salaries, we keep losing people due to salaries. That is unfortunately an issue. The city doesn't pay as well as some of the other cities. They may come here for a year or 2, they get some good training, and where do they go? We constantly are losing people. Okay, so that's where some of this is going to. Fire and police get, like you said, close to 50% of our budget, and I'm 100% for that. Safe City brings economic development, and I will always support a safe city.
Okay. All right, who's next? Let me go to the back of the room. Ken Edwards.
Adam,
Yes, sir.
my comment is basically for you and the council. You made a statement about putting the city into districts.
Yes.
Okay, I've been a council member in Wisconsin, I've served on other councils, and I don't believe in that, because that puts us in a quid pro quo situation. That puts one district against the other. The way we are now, at large, the council members have to do what's best for the city. What's your objective by going that way?
Great question. I'm sorry. Great question. Thank you. So my whole plan to that is I don't know if any of you live East Maricopa, Tortosa area, right? I don't know, show by hands, but I hear a lot that people out in that way don't get their voice heard by any means. Lacking of a light, infrastructure issues, commercial space, other places, a gas station, all those things, for an actual resident to go in front of city council, everyone, and voice their voice is really, really challenging. It's challenging for me to speak in front of all of you. So could you imagine if you're one person there in Tortosa trying to speak and say, hey, what about the infrastructure? It takes us an extra 25 minutes to leave. That's why that would be my whole point of ensuring that that resident, Tortosa, Rancho, El Mirage, has a voice to go to that city council member and say, hey, here's my concerns, and they can take it back to the whole city council itself. That's not my biggest issue with that.
Does anyone, oh, I guess so.
Come on. So I don't know who's talking to him. I really don't, because I talk to people in Tortosa on a daily basis. One of my good friends, he's not a friend, I guess, he's a social media friend, right? I talk to him both on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. His name is James. He asks me questions all the time. He lives in Tortosa. I drive to the Tortosa subdivision every single week. I go out and I do my whole drive around. I have friends that live in other parts of the area out there in the Tortosa. I actually know somebody that just bought a house in Tortosa, and she's gonna let me know if there's problems in Tortosa. But I also answer to the people in Maricopa Meadows, in the villages, in Cobblestone, and Province, and everywhere else. So everyone can come to me. My phone number is not something that's hidden. It's 602-373-9996. It's on my cards, it's everywhere. It's my personal cell phone, it's sitting right there. You can call me, yell at me, scream at me. I'm all over social media. You can reach me. I'm not hiding. So I'm available and open to anyone, no matter where they live in the city of Maricopa. And I like it that way, because I get to answer to you, everybody in this place, and not just one district of people. Thank you.
Hey, Henry?
Well, he answered my question. He answered what I was going to say right at the last minute. I am beholden to you, regardless of where you live. If you have, I don't understand wanting to have one person represent you than 6. Seems to me that because when an email comes to city council, it goes to 6 of us. And we're at warp speed trying to get to that question so we can answer your question for you. Very often, you'll get a response from 2 or 3 people at one time. So it doesn't behoove you to just confine yourself to one individual that you feel is responsible to you, because we all are. And so that was my point. I would not want to have one person when I can have 6. And I would prefer to be able to not limit myself to talking to just people in Tortosa. And as I say, Glen Wild has an issue. The Meadows has issues. Rancho has issues. They all have issues. But I think that certainly currently, the current council that exists today is very conscious of that fact. And we work very, very well together. Someone asked me earlier about whether or not we were partisan or bipartisan in our roles. We are nonpartisan in our roles. We do not carry any political affiliation in our roles. And we are able to work together as a unit in that role. And so I would certainly appreciate having 6 people who supported something that I was doing, as opposed to one person that I might talk to. They may not be able to get the same kind of treatment.
As the other council members have said, we work for everybody. We don't care where you live. We don't care how much money you make. We care about you. We do care about Tortosa because there is developments coming out there. Again, there's obviously things that we know what's going on. There is shopping center coming out there. There's other stuff coming out there. And I want everybody to make sure you understand, we don't choose who comes to this city. They choose our city. And that's what we do as a council, to make sure that they come to this city. Yes, we want shopping centers. We want Home Depots and Lowe's and Target and all the other stores that everybody wants, okay? The bottom line is that we don't choose who comes. They choose us. So we make sure that this city shines when we have every opportunity. Unfortunately with COVID, we couldn't have the ICSC show last year that I should have done, but they shut it down. So we go out to these people. I'm actually, like I said, I do work for a local plumbing company here, and I've actually met with a hotel company that wants to come down here, another hotel that we need, because right now one's not enough. So we get out, we're out there for everybody. We don't care where you live. I'll say it over and over again. We work for you. And I want to make sure that I'm going to continue working hard for you And that's the best thing that we can do, is make sure that we're out there. My phone number, just like everybody else's number, is available. And by the way, every other Tuesday, twice a month, you can come to stand between all of us and come tell us what your needs are. You get 3 minutes to come up there at a city council meeting, speak your piece, or call any of us. Every one of our numbers is published.
And because the question was directed at Adam Leach, I'm gonna let him respond.
And it wasn't that we only, or that one person would just have that one district. They would still have oversight and be interested in all the residents within Maricopa. They just also have that one piece of Maricopa to be funneling back on two sides. They can sit down, go to an HOA meeting, hear the residents, here's what's happening, here's their concerns. They can be involved in a community event that's out there, and then take it back, and then vice versa. What's happening in the city, they can be more transparent back to that community, saying, hey, here's what we're going on, because not everyone can meet 2 Tuesdays a month at 6:30, I think the time is, at City Hall to hear things. They have a work schedule, they have life, they have other things going on, so it just makes that person more approachable.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, how about a question from this side, all the way in the back? Stand up and talk loud.
So far I've been hearing you're for safety. Obviously, the motorcycle police department, or the motorcycles have been cut out, and they will be cut out. Also, there's still, a lot of people moving in here that are from different parts of the country, and they drive different. So if you're for safety, stop everything and put the money in the police department that could write tickets, and I heard we can't write tickets, all it is just a warning. And so that's what I'm asking. You guys are talking about safety, then let's do something about safety by ticketing people that are driving too fast on the road and tailgating and all that. So that's my question, and that goes to all the councilmen. You get 2 minutes to answer.
So all the council members, all right, 2 minutes, you get 2 minutes. We got people setting rules back there.
As for the police department, my wife just received a speeding ticket. Her last name is Vitiello, the same as mine. I'm sorry?
That's 1 out of 500.
We have 6 to 8 officers out at any given time, okay? We do have a little overlap during the shift change, but there's roughly 6 to 8 officers covering all the territory. Now, sometimes warnings are okay. Speeding, no. Especially through school zones. But when it comes to the public safety, our guys are instructed to write a ticket when necessary. Sometimes it could be something that's minor, that they should talk to about it. Education is number one. Yes, people do drive too fast. Like I said, my wife was going 7 miles an hour over the speed limit. Didn't matter who she was. They actually got all their vaccine shots from her, and they still gave it a ticket. Okay? So public safety is a good thing. No doubt about it, it's a great thing. But to sit here and to say that we're able to give tons of tickets out, we don't want to just give tickets randomly. We do want to also make sure that we educate our people. Certain times, we should be giving them tickets. No ifs or buts about it. But to sit here, I don't have enough officers. 6 to 8 officers at any given time, and 2 of them are supervisors, so they're out doing other things. So for us to say, give more tickets, they give tickets when they possibly can, can't catch everybody.
You just said education comes first.
No, public safety comes first in giving the ticket, but again, sometimes on a minor one, or right on red, or something simple, we can educate them, because again, the police get a bad rap as it is. The last thing we want to do.
I'm not saying police, I'm saying you guys. You guys are cutting back on the police department.
We're not cutting back on the police department.
You just said they were getting rid of the 3 motorcycle cops. Are you getting rid of
Who said that?
Are you, okay, my question is, are you getting rid of?
Oh, no, I thought you said, I didn't know where it was coming from. Oh, no. We are not getting rid of our motor officers. No way, no how.
Okay, you stand and we're not getting rid of the motorcycle.
No, absolutely not. And you'll have the other council members tell you the same. And former vice mayor.
Well, I'm not speaking up today. I'm not on trial here. All right.
Oh, I didn't know it was a trial. I'm on my attorney.
All right, go ahead.
I'm confused. You're saying that we are cutting back on police department
Motorcycle.
Cut back on this motorcycle department.
Motorcycle, not the overall force.
I beg pardon?
Not the overall force, just the motorcycle program.
Yeah, right. For safety, motorcycles are probably one of the main things that keep the traffic flowing in a smooth, orderly manner. Your patrol cars can't control Smith Inky. There's no place within the park. And
Well, they can follow them to a safe distance with those lights on. They can certainly take care of that and make sure that it's safe where they stop and don't stop them until they get to a safe area. But to my knowledge, I'm not aware of, and that's one of the things that's important to be straightforward. I'm not aware of any cuts in the police department where we're gonna be losing access either to motorcycles
well, I'll make you aware of it now if you're not aware of it now.
Well, okay.
And I'm surprised that the city council, you're not aware of what's going on in the safety procedure.
Well, I'll take that question back, if you will, make sure we get in contact with each other, and I'll get directly to the answer directly to you, because as I said, I'm not aware of any cutbacks as far as the police department is concerned. Now, when we talk about education, I thought maybe you were talking about a conversation that took place in city council here, the last city council meeting, where the city manager talked about the program that's in place with the schools to try to give out tickets that weren't, give out warnings until we get some kind of control over that, access that area in Airport Road, and get the schools responsible for what they are responsible for traffic zones. There is a program where tickets are going to be warning tickets, not actual tickets, until, if and until the community doesn't follow the guidelines that's already out there. And so that is something that I'm well aware of, and that was the issue. But I'm not aware of us losing any police officers or traffic.
Great question, and you were in my office the other day asking the same question, so I know the answer, I hope, right? And the same point, I open my office and I talk to everybody, you come in and ask questions. So we're not reducing our police force. As I just said just a couple minutes ago, we're actually in the budget that's coming out and we're approving on the 21st, or not approving, I don't know, but we'll vote on the 21st, has 4 additional patrol officers or police officers in it. So we're bringing in more police officers. In regard to motorcycles themselves, we do have less motorcycles on the road today than we've had in the past. We used to have, I think it was 5 motorcycles at one point in our past, or 4. I think we're down to 2 now. And they are quite expensive to run in terms of the insurance on them. So what can a police officer do in a motorcycle that they can't do in a squad car?
Hide.
Not much, really, and you shouldn't be hiding, right? The whole point is not to hide, it's to enforce the law, right? So if you're in a police car or a motorcycle, to me, there's no difference in terms of the amount of tickets they can give out. Now, for tickets, remember, it's very important to remember, for every ticket we give out, that officer has to show up at court, right? So he's off the street. That officer also, that ticket also doesn't provide us any money. We lose money. So if an officer writes a speeding ticket, the city of Maricopa is not like, yeah, cha-ching, we made $300. We get almost none of that money. Very, very, very little. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't even pay enough for that officer to go to court, because he has to get paid to be in court. So keeping the officers on the street is important. So giving warnings is important. My daughter got a warning. She has a different last name than me. She's my stepdaughter, so it wasn't Manfredi. But she got a warning, and now when she drives through the school zone, she's going 15 miles an hour, and she's very scared. Very scared. She was going 22, I think it was, in the school zone. So now it's 15, and she's making sure she's 19. Okay, so. Yeah. But they pulled her over and they gave her a warning and they explained it to her. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, you were not asked directly the question. Do you have anything to respond or add? Okay. All right. Next question. We're going up here in the front. Yes.
Hey, I'm going to stand up so you. Oh, I can yell.
Okay.
I teenage
right,
boys. I can yell.
All right.
Okay. This is back to an apartment issue for seniors. Okay. I know that there's something coming up in assisted living, and that's great. However, rent is probably going to be fairly substantial because it is assisted living. I'm questioning if we could have an over 55 and over, a senior apartment building. That's it, seniors. But with some rent subsidy for the seniors. Now, you've got couples, and we're getting our social security, and we've got some investments, and we're doing fine. We're not living rich, but we're in our homes, we're okay. What happens when one or the other of us dies? Our income is cut in half. We're barely making it sometimes on what we have for the two. How in the heck do you expect us to make it when our salary is cut in half?
Are you directing this question at anyone in particular?
Oh, I don't care, they can all answer because I want to see the apartment building.
All right, go ahead, Vince.
That's a great question. I was just talking to our city manager, and we were talking about a possible complex coming to the south side of Maricopa, not the one you were just discussing at Copper Sky, a different one.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and it will be a 55 plus community, not a community, but an apartment complex. I can't talk to you about subsidies because the city of Maricopa doesn't provide rent subsidies.
Yeah.
It's not something we do. That's something that's provided by the Pinal County Health and by the state and by the feds, right? So they provide different subsidies for housing. So you have to work with them, and I'm happy to work with them, especially when it comes to a senior complex, right?
Irrigate them, please.
Yeah, so that's something that we work at. But remember, we had a question. One of our first questions was Section 8 apartment housing, right? So a lot of Section 8 apartments are seniors, right? I know we think it's not. We think it's, people, just,
Yeah, they might have 8 apartments in the whole apartment building.
Right, but there are Section 8 apartments that are available. So we might have to be open to allowing Section 8 if we want to allow senior stuff and letting the feds pay for it, because that's what Section 8 is, right? It's federal money. Right? It's not the state giving money out to apartment complexes and inviting people to come live with us, right? It's federal money, it's state money, it's county health money, right? So if we're gonna allow it for seniors, you can't not allow it for other people. So there's a catch-22, right? It's what do you want to allow in the city of Maricopa? But I'm 100% for ensuring that we have a place for seniors to go. I currently live, my wife, my kids, we live here in Maricopa. Her parents live in Phoenix, and they're in their 70s now. And we are talking about the fact that when the time comes, they're either gonna be living with us or an apartment or something close to us. So we're already talking about it, and we're thinking about one of those duplex houses, I don't know. But we're looking at different things. I mean, you have to plan for that. So the people in their 40s and their 50s now, and that have parents have to look at that situation for them too. And if you live here in Maricopa, senior housing is important.
Yes, it is.
I work in an organization that assists people who are needing rent assistance, utility assistance, down payment assistance for closing costs when they're purchasing homes. And most would tell you that they want to be able to stand up on their own. They don't necessarily want to have those, what you call subsidized mortgages or subsidized rent payments. They want to stand on their own 2 feet. The problem with the term affordable housing, as I see it, this is my opinion. When an investor purchases a property, whether it be a multifamily property or it be a single family property, they're looking to get some kind of gain out of that. By its very nature, working with a rental or a investor in a home, you should expect that this person is trying to make some kind of a profit. So when we use the term affordable housing, it doesn't really make sense because these people are trying to make a profit on the property that they own. However, if they can see themselves making a profit at the same time supporting the community, which is what we try to get them to do, then it works out better for everybody concerned. It works out for the renter, it works out for the investor, it works out for the developer who's looking for subsidies sometimes when they're coming in to build properties. So for me, I need to understand what the need is, and I do understand what the need is, but I also, what I'm hoping you to understand is, when we talk about affordable housing, we're talking about people who are trying to make a profit off of their investment. They're not bad people. And I'm not suggesting anyone has suggested that. They're not bad people. That's their investment strategy, or their monies, those of us who maybe, I can't say those of us, I don't necessarily want to get it, but they're not bad people. They're working for themselves and their work.
Would one of the two feel like to respond?
Thank you.
you for that question. So basically, what I would like to see within this city is better housing options for seniors. If it's not just Providence, it's within the city. If it's a multifamily, sorry, not a multifamily, but a more of assisted living facility that can ensure that based on your income, based on where your assets are, that your rent there is a reduced amount. Because again, that is key, and I actually have a flyer from the county, I don't know if you guys were aware of it. There's an application that you can apply for to freeze, I think it's, one second, sorry, I don't wanna speak wrong. Yes, it's the validation protection information here for you too. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but I'll let Rich speak.
Yes. I don't know how any other way to say it. Yes. Okay. I'm turning 58 years old, and I live in a very big house here in Maricopa. I have a basement home, one of the few. It's too much space for me. I hate cleaning it. My wife hates cleaning it. The woman who comes to our house and cleans it, hates cleaning it. So the answer is yes, no doubt about it. We definitely have it. So there's going to be 3 types coming over by Copper Sky. There's going to be 100% assisted, and a little bit less assisted, and no assisted. So there'll be 3 levels at that facility over by there. But as a whole, yes, we do need another set of apartments, condos. I always hear condos. Janie loves condos. She knows I'm going to say that. So we definitely need other types of assisted living, or just apartments, or condos, or duplexes for seniors, veterans, no doubt about it. Right? Obviously, veterans could be seniors. So we do need to look at that. But like I said in the very beginning, we cannot just say, let's build it. It's not what we do. What we can do is help bring them, have them to come here, shine our city, make sure our city is where they want to come. So we're all for it. The council, again, we don't sit here and say, no, you can't open up this, no, you can't open up that. The bottom line is we fight for everything that is the best for this city.
Thank you. All right, next question. I'm coming to the middle of the room. Anyone in the middle of the room? Do I keep passing Ted up? All right, well, there's no one in the middle of the room. So Ted, go for it. That wasn't intentional, Ted.
Yes, it was. My name's
Stand up and speak loud.
My name's Ted Yoakum, and the question has to be limited to 2 minutes.
Does he get 2 minutes?
Say it fast, Ted.
There are those that sometimes tell me that I can make a short story long.
There we go.
There are those in the room who could attest to that.
We already started.
I believe, Henry, you said that when you're asked, how are you doing? Your comment was, well, how am I doing for you? I would like to know from each of you, what was your most meaningful accomplishment during your time on council? The most meaningful accomplishment that, what was most meaningful to you individually? What did you accomplish for the city that you felt was very important? The very best one.
All right, I think Rich, you're due to go first.
Outside of my family is my #1 accomplishment. I love my kids, I love my grandchildren. I'd have to say it was working with the hospital to come here. We needed a hospital. I was very proud not only to help bring it with our past and present council members, because again, not everything happens right away, but I was also proud because I also helped build that hospital. So I have a very, very special place in that. So I'm gonna have to put it as, very simply, the first hospital in Maricopa.
I'm gonna have to get some economic, support on this, because I keep mentioning this guy's name, our city manager, Rick Horst. He's not paying me to answer the question. For me, I think the best thing that I have been involved with in city council, in my time in city council, was the hiring of Rick Horst. Because even if you don't necessarily like some of the projects that are being done, you have to give credit to the fact that they're being done. They're being discovered, they're being analyzed, and they're being completed. That was something that we weren't doing initially when I first came on city council, because, and not to cast aspersions on the individual, we had a city manager that was not progressive or proactive. So we do not have that. And so for me, that means a lot, because that means we can serve you, because we know that it's going to happen. We know that when we put forth an effort to do something, that we have somebody that's smart enough, experienced enough, and honest enough to try to make something happen. So that's what, for me, that's been the most important, because he actually is the person who runs the city. When we really think about it, when you put it in really in its order that it is, he is the person who manages the city, runs the city. We support those efforts. We are the overseers of that. But we have a progressive and a dynamic city manager, and I'm glad I was a part of that time.
My family, #1 achievement of my life, and they are my stepdaughters. They are the of my life. But on that's a personal thing. On a professional level, I was driving, and by the way, Rick Horst, great hire. I pushed for heck like him in our meetings when he was applying. And of course, the hospital was a great achievement for us as a city. But I was driving in my car in 2012 or 13. And I was sitting because I live in Maricopa, you know where that is, right? Other side of the tracks. So I was coming through, and I'm sitting at the tracks, and I'm waiting for an Amtrak to pass. And I was sitting there, and I'm fuming at this point because I'm late. And if you don't know me enough, I'm late a little bit. Because I'm busy. So I was late, and I was like, dang it. So I text this guy. I'm like, hey, dude, we gotta get a freaking overpass over here. This is freaking ridiculous. I might have said bad words. And he says, hey man, I'm 2 cars ahead of you. I'm like, son of a... And he gets out of the car, we wave to one another, and it was Christian Price, our mayor. And then he says to me, why don't you run for council and help me do it? So I ran for council. And we're able to get that overpass in place. And it took a lot of work from everybody. Our previous councils for 15 years prior, and the current council that was on there. And all the work that was involved, working with the auction, working with ADOT, working with everyone that was needed to get that done. Going to Washington, D.C. and begging for money. Getting the money together, cobbling it together, bringing it to ADOT and saying, here's half of the money. Give us an overpass. And at that point, we got an overpass. It was a beautiful thing. Right? So that is probably the biggest accomplishment as a city, not my accomplishment, the biggest accomplishment as a city, and I was happy to be just a tiny little part of it. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, Harriet, stand up and speak loud.
And I bet you know what I'm going to talk about.
Probably so.
We live out in Hidden Valley. That's a 20-minute trip into town. Now I know that's the difference between the municipal city and the county. However, we were in the meadows. We've been here 12 years. Now, I love the activity that's going on and the growth of our city. However, the growing pains are starting to get to me. And 238, we're gonna have this great car park, water park. We've got, right now, we have arteriosclerosis in our highway going up to 347. I mean, every time I go to the doctor, it's like, I'm on Raceway and I'm not at the restaurant. So that whole thing concerns me. I don't want to hear another death on 347 because of crazy traffic. The other part is, and I know in the Four Corners, that's the growth, but this is our residential areas. And between us, 20 miles out, and Chin and Papago, there's going to be 6,000 homes. And I love it that Mayor Price, I love his leadership, but I know he's really on it because we need those jobs. We need to get economical development here, but that brings with it the families and the traffic. So my question is, please give us hope that this vein is going to be cleared anytime soon, maybe in my lifetime. The other part is, what do you feel about ATVs? Because they're coming out to my dirt road, stirring it up, making noise. not very happy about it. I'm a little white-haired lady going, get out of here. Get out of here. I wanna know what we're gonna do with the ATVs. We had the lack of privilege. We were right in front of Fry's, and Mr. just got his white paper on his ATV, cut our 1-ton truck off, you can't miss it, cut our 1-ton truck, went in the right lane, cut off that car, came into the left lane so he could turn into AutoZone. And I thought, you're not in Yuma, guy, this is not a sandhill.
All right, Vince, are you gonna start this off?
Yeah, one of the transportation committees that I serve on is the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, right? And I serve on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Just last week, we were having a conversation about ATVs and state highways and state roads and banning them, basically. So even though they are street legal, technically the ATVs themselves, on the first page of it, when you get your instruction manual, says don't operate this on paved highways. It says it in there, but we let them go. They can become street legal, and you drive them out there. So one of the pushes that's going to be in the state legislature next year, not this current legislature, the next legislature, will be to actually work to see a resolution to not allowing them possibly on state highways. That would be 347 and 238, and not on some of the arterial highways that we have. So that's a great thing to bring up. And just so you know, it's something that we're working on currently. And it's funny, is the people that are pushing it are the people from Sedona. And if you didn't know 89A, everybody been on 89A in Sedona, it's got 6 different ATVs or UTVs, whatever you want to call them, rentals on there. So if you try and drive an 89A, it's crazy. Luckily, we don't have that situation here, but we do have a lot of ATV owners that have to understand there are rules to the road, and you have to follow them even though you're in an ATV and not a car. In regard to the 347, and thank you, that's a great question. I serve on 3 other transportation committees that are working to bring funding for it. RTAC, which is Regional Transportation Advisory Council, we just worked on a big package of road fixes for the state of Arizona. None of them impacted the city of Maricopa. Now I'm on that committee, and I told everybody else on that committee, let's get your stuff in here right now, let's get it in. Because next year, I'm coming to it with 347 100% in mind. It's gonna be 347, we're gonna be pushing for 347, and we're gonna be working for 347. So I get people that tell me, how come there's nothing on 347 in this one? Like, relax, it's coming. Because no matter how much money I get this year, we still got a lot of work to do, so I'm gonna have it in next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very methodical interview. She asked for hope.
Oh, there's hope. A lot of hope.
So I do the 347 about 3-4 times a week now because I cut back on it. So when people talk to me about the 347, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Yes, I do. I'm on it every other day, back and forth, so I understand it intimately. I really want to do something about the 347, and if we can get it done, I'm real happy about that. I got hope when I was as vice mayor, I was able to have a meeting between the Gila River president and our mayor in our city hall. The reason that Gila River had been a little reluctant to do business with us was because of the relationship we did not have. And as you all know, with anything, if you don't have a relationship with someone, it's difficult to get something done. So we had an opportunity with the Gila River president, I'm trying to think of his name, leader. Governor. When the governor indicated that he had never been in our city hall before. So I made arrangements for him to come to the city hall with our mayor. We sat down and talked about the things that were important to help, with most notably being the 347. After that meeting, not long after that meeting, Gila River put out a letter stating that they would no longer be a detriment to the actions that were taking place with the 347. So, and now, I didn't do that. I'll make a meeting, but I didn't make that happen. We'll make it again. But the whole point that I'm trying to make is without the relationships, we don't have hope. Because nothing is going to move until we get to the point where we're working together. So that's my hope, is that we were able to do something that made a difference.
So I understand everyone's frustration when you're traveling 3:47, 6 a.m., 4:30 in the afternoon, there's always traffic, there's something there, and sometimes it's a really, really bad accident, or sometimes it's just a minor bump. Either way, at the end of the day, I know that's one of my biggest reasons why that I want to run for city council, is a lot of talk. This is coming, this is coming. I understand it takes a long time to get funding and get things done, but realistically, how come we can't just get some sort of a better goal of when it might actually get done? Some sort of improvement, and not just it's coming, it takes time. Because again, I have a 16-year-old son that will be eventually driving on the road that I'm afraid for. You know, that's how I feel. That's one of my biggest reasons why that I want to run, is to say, hey, let's be transparent and really set some sort of real goal to get something done to actually show that road being safer.
As for the ATVs, you can't fix stupid. I'll keep it simple. Same with the drivers that we have. You know, everybody needs to just be a little more calmer, considerate for each other. As for the 347, it's pretty personal to me. I've been going to ADOT meetings. I have a friend of mine who was in a very big accident up there about 6 years ago. We put on a softball tournament for a gentleman who was completely brain dead. Wasn't even in the accident, a part shot through, hit him in the head. I go to every ADOT meeting, not every, I shouldn't say that. I go to ADOT meetings as much as I possibly can. And unfortunately, every year I bring another jersey. The jersey's for him to raise money for his family. We have to raise money for his family because he also is a correction officer who can't work. His family needs to pay the bills. So is 347 personal? Yes. It took 15 years of prior council members to get an overpass. Now, is 15 years too long? Yes. But I also can't sit here in front of you and tell you, hey, it's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. Do we fight for it? Yes, we do. Do we want it yesterday? Yes, we do. Just like some of the stores and everything else that I spoke about earlier. We know the 347 is very important to get done. But, as you know, the East-West Corridor, which is now the Sonora, I know they just changed the name, but that's going to be an option that is actually starting. We did the groundbreaking the other day. We were there able to get this project going that will actually divert you down to from Federal Road, it'll take you down to Casa Grande Highway down to Val Vista, and Val Vista Allen. Yes, it is a little longer, but we are putting money into this. As Vince said earlier, $128 million over the next 5 years. So we are pushing for this to be done. But again, the 347 is a little bit different situation.
Vince, I'll give you 1 minute.
Thanks, just quick. It's $121 million of CIP, $60 million of it is for transportation and construction, and I'm gonna speak fast, and I apologize. You know, he mentioned there's a lot of talk and nothing getting done. Just last year, we passed in our state budget $35 million for an overpass at Riggs Road. This year alone, we're putting $11 million in inflationary cost measures to increase that $35 million to $46 million, and that should pass in the next couple weeks. And the state budget will have $46 million for the overpass at Riggs Road. That's a huge improvement. Most accidents on 347 happen at Riggs Road. So that overpass will go over the 347. It'll be a $2 million overpass over the 347 at Riggs Road. We have the money for it. Construction should start in the next 12 months or so. It should be finished in the next 3 years, or 4 years, sorry. That will be done, right? Then we gotta work on everything else, and we are working on it. We're putting in together all the funding. The same thing we did on the overpass. We cobbled together all the funding we can get. We take it to ADOT, we say, here, boom, take this money and get us our extra lanes.
Okay,
Fix our road.
that's a minute, sorry.
Thank you.
Adam, do you have any rebuttal to that? Okay,
It's
all
a
right,
good question.
next question. All right, I have one in the middle. Stand up and talk louder, or do you want the mic? Okay, go for it.
I just have a question about the roads. How many years are we gonna have to wait for improvement on just out of town? I took my Mustang out there yesterday. It was almost like I was had to drive in a rock corner.
Me?
Any of the council members.
Are you talking about
I'm gonna
347?
clarify with them right
Okay.
now. Are you talking about the 238 when you're leaving town?
347, after you get to the after.
Okay, 347 from Lake, from Smith Yankee out.
Yeah, where
great.
Where it's almost like gravel driving.
Yeah, it's horrible. I was driving it the other day with my wife, and I drive a 2005 Honda Pilot with 300,000 miles on it, and it sounds like, hey, that's a little messed up. So she was in the car with me, and she's like, we really got to replace your car. And because I was on that road, and it was like, and yeah, I got to put shocks. I'm sorry. So on that road, from Lakeview to the edge of town, we're currently going to start working on it this year. It's a $4 million project. The city's putting in 1.9, and ADOT's putting the rest in. And it's probably going to go up now with inflationary costs, sadly. But we'll be doing Lakeview, right? That's right outside Rancho, up past our city limits, just a little bit into the 347. We'll be adding 2 turn lanes and repaving the road. And then, starting after that's done, we'll be doing Smith Enke to Lakeview, right? So that is in plan, and it's part of our budgeting process right now. So we are working on that. It's part of our infrastructure costs. I think there was a story came out about a couple months ago, about the one from Lakeview up, and then the other part is in there too. But it adds lanes and it fixes the roads.
Yeah, because it starts at the Chase stop
Yeah.
there.
It starts at Smith Enke, so before, right there, all the way up.
Does anyone have anything to add? That's a pretty straightforward answer. Okay. You already asked a question, so let me come back here. Anyone back here? Oh, all the way in the back. Sir, stand up and yell out your question.
My question is, all the beautification that we're doing on the highways coming in and out of town is great. We love it. But the one thing that we've noticed is where they go down Smith Enke to the dump. Well, when they come back, I followed one of those trucks one day out to the highway, and they don't cover their trailers. So what happens, that wind swirls up, blows out the rest of the junk they got in their truck. And I understand that's a state road, and this is a state road, but this part here coming through our town is our road. Is there any way you can have an ordinance that requires, if you want to drive on our road to get back out to the highway, that you have to have your trailer covered in and out? Because the road
Henry,
out here,
Rich, you want to address that?
the road out here really looks like the devil. It's really, and so that, to me, all the beautification things is for naught. When you get out the road and you look out here, and there's all this trash.
Guess who I'm gonna be talking to after this meeting? Absolutely, we can do that. It's nothing else but the safety factor to be concerned. So yes, to answer your question, can we do it? Yes. Should we do it? Yes. When can we do it? I'll find out. But it will need to be done. Yes, we can do that. Anything that has anything to do with the safety of our constituents takes a very high.
You know, and it's common. It's not once in a while. It's common to have that happen. That's dangerous.
All right. Anything that anyone wants to add to that? Yes, Rich.
You know, and I might add too, we have a fine police department and fire department, second to none.
So to just answer that question, first of all, we are the 4th safest city in the state of Arizona, and we're 15th overall. So that's something very, very important to us. As for, again, we would love to hire more officers. We just don't have the financial budget to do it, I'm sorry. Again, when I was talking about education, I do apologize. I don't mean pull somebody over going 7 miles an hour and say, well, you should only go to 35. That's not what I mean. What I was actually really talking about is earlier when we were talking about the school zones and stuff, and the areas that we are worried about on Porter Road, that we want to educate the people there. So again, they line up, we should tell them they don't need to be doing this. Again, we are going to enforce with the schools. They're going to put out a traffic plan, and we are going to make them enforce that 100%. As for more officers, I'd love to have more officers, but they all cost. They all cost. So again, we have issues with you. Somebody said that the motorcycles aren't going away. We have new cars that we've been purchasing. They're very expensive cars. New computers. That's another issue that we also have. A lot of our computers are old and outdated. But to sit here and tell you that I put 4, 5, 6 more officers, we need the officers that we just put on, just due to the shortage of what we have. But I'd like to have 4 or 5 officers focus on traffic itself. Our officers that we have focus on traffic all day long. Probably 75% of their job is out there enforcing traffic.
I didn't say 4 or 5, just 2.
I'd like 4 or 5.
It's a great comment, and I'll talk to the chief and I'll ask him if he wants to create a task force that just does traffic. I am not a cop. I don't do police officer work. I have no idea the complexity of scheduling the police officers or working as a police officer. Our chief does, so I'll ask him. I'll put it on him and ask him if that's something that we should be doing, and he'll get back to us and let us know. Thank you.
All right, I need to give them 2 minutes to close. We have 10 minutes left. Anyone have a hot question? All right, I have 2 hands. I'm gonna give you both an opportunity, but ask 1 or 2 candidates. Okay.
Basically, I just wanted to know, currently, our fire and police dispatch goes through where? Is it in Maricopa, or does it still go through Channel?
City of Maricopa.
That's what I wanted to know.
And we're building a brand new dispatch center over in that lot right across the street.
All right, Peg, stand up and ask loud.
This question is for Adam. Adam, being a city council member is basically learning the job by doing the job. What are you doing specifically in terms of attending council meetings, committee meetings, that kind of thing, to learn about the job that you're running for?
Thank you, Peggy. So my goal is like anything else, right? That there's
something wrong with that part,
right? So sitting in a city council meeting is great, and I've been to some, and you can kind of get that perspective and say maybe like an actual resident. But to be involved, you have to be on the council, see what's behind the scenes, because what I've noticed every time that I've been, it seems to be very one-sided meeting, right? There's kind of a very short window for the resident to basically come up, talk, speak about something, and then they already have their objectives. They talk, done, basically it's over. I just want to know more, and hopefully by getting your guys' vote, to be engaged, because I want to put all my effort into it.
Anyone want to speak? Okay. All right, so we're going to give each of you 2 minutes to close out your time here and say whatever you'd like to say. Vince, we'll start with you.
I'll close out, and I just wanted to address Peg's question. It is a learning process. Everything that we do as a city council member is a learning process. And regardless of whether you can be there for 2, 3, 10, 15, or 45 minutes, a city council meeting is important to attend. You have to be there. You have to know what time it starts. It starts at 6 o'clock. Show up at your council meetings. You have a call to the public where you can speak to all your council members. You can actually fill out a call to the public card or a speaker card, and you can speak to each individual item on there. You can speak as much as you want to your council members. You have to attend council meetings if you want to learn and affect change. It's important. You know, I take it serious. I really do. Being on council is I love the job, and I take it very seriously. Just last year in June, I had a 4-way quadruple bypass surgery. So I was in the hospital. It was Sunday. I had bypass surgery. On Tuesday, we had a council meeting. I was there. I was in my council meeting. I was on the phone. My wife was sitting next to me holding the phone to my head, and I was at my council meeting. It is important to be there. You have to be. You have to be, because you have to learn everything that's going on. You have to talk to not only the people in the council meeting where you watch it, right? Because you watch a council meeting, you're like, all right, I can watch this. But you have to be there so that you can talk to the city manager afterwards. You can talk to the county attorney. You can talk to the city attorney. You can talk to the clerk. You can talk to the people in the audience. And you can get from them and understand what's going on. You can't replace actual being there. You just can't. You got to be there. I'm running for city council. My name is Vincent Manfredi. This card right here that says Manfredi, that's me, right? It doesn't have my picture on it because I'm kind of ugly. That's simple, all right? And you know, Rich looks better than me. Adam looks better than me. Henry, he looks better, but he didn't put his picture on the card. I don't know. So my name is Vincent Manfredi. I've been serving you for 8 years. I am 100% open and honest. I'm available for you. I run a Facebook Live every single month, not during election season, well, during election season, and every other month that I've been on council. I sit there, I take your questions. I take all the questions online, I take the beatings, I'm there for you, and I will answer your questions. You might not like the answers I give, but I will give you factual answers. Thank you.
As I said earlier, I'm Henry Wade, and I've been on council for almost 8 years, looking to run for my third term for an additional 4 years. Why am I doing this? Because I don't have any sharp sticks to put in my eyes. Okay, so if I did, then maybe I would put the sharp sticks in my eyes. No, I do this because I love this city. I take that ride down to 347 down to Buckeye and Central. Every 3 days is it. But I look forward to taking the ride coming back to Maricopa every day. Because I know that we're making a difference. I know our council is committed. I know they're making a difference. I appreciate the fact that Ted asked me the question that I asked, because it's important. I think it's more important what you think, what I'm doing for you, or what we're doing for you, than what I think I'm doing for myself. This has been, if you had told me in 2008 when I moved into Maricopa that I would be on city council, I'd say you're crazy. But I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I just buried my mom Tuesday. During the services, one of the questions was asked, how long have you been engaged? And my answer is, I've been involved with public service since I was 9 years old. I still wouldn't imagine I've been on city council. I still wouldn't imagine that this ride that I'm on with you would be such a wonderful experience. And I want to continue that. I want to continue to make a difference. I want to continue to give you a voice. I want to continue to push back on things that just don't make any sense when you scratch the surface of them. And I want to be there for my grandson, who's 14 years old, in a safe environment for him to walk to school if he chooses to, in an environment that gives him the opportunity to learn. Because we didn't talk about education very much, but that is an important subject, so maybe it's part 2. Thank you very much.
These last 3.5 years have been amazing. I ran for this job because Kelly Anderson years ago told me I was ready for this. When I work in this city every day, I absolutely adore going through this city. I love walking into people's houses and talking to them and hearing not only about their plumbing problems, but I like hearing what the problems are, and I get it all the time. I don't go out with to the grocery store with my wife anymore because she doesn't want to spend an hour trying to get a gallon of milk. And our numbers, we're all available. We're here for you. We work for you. I work hard for you. I will continue to work hard. That's the #1 thing people ask me. What are you going to do for me? I can't promise you a store that you want. I can't promise you a restaurant you want. But what I will promise you is that I will work hard for you. I will work for the safety of the people here. I will work for our veterans, our seniors, and again, the future of our children is very important because my grandson or granddaughter possibly could be a city council member or maybe even a mayor. The bottom line is that we work for you. We focus on what you guys want. There's things I want. It doesn't matter what I want. It matters what the people of Maricopa want. It's most important to me. And public safety is the most important thing because again, I believe it brings economic development. No one wants to go to an unsafe city to open up their doors. They want to make sure that when customers come to their stores, they're going to be safe. So we need to keep our police department, our fire department growing, continue to grow. As we grow, we will add more police officers. We will definitely add more fire stations, which we definitely will need. On the south side, we're probably going to have to get another one very soon. So please understand why I work and why I do this for you. Thank you. Vote Rich Vitiello, August 2nd.
Use this microphone.
What was this one? Use this one.
That one's bad.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Nancy, for inviting us, having us, putting this all together here. It's been a really, really great event. Again, at the end of the day, I've never been on city council at all. I haven't been on there, that's why I'm running now. I just want to see change. What I can tell you is that I'm going to put everything that I have in this. I'm going to be passionate, hardworking. I'll always will be there. You'll see me without the city. Copper Sky, you name it. I want to be available resource for you guys. I want to be able to bring communication, and not just here because, okay, it's a job with the council. It's just, it's a position that means so much more to me because I want to leave behind, after my 2 terms, I want to leave something here that the city has never had. That's kind of what my goal is. I've worked hard my whole life to be where I am now. And again, I know that I don't have a lot of experience being on city council. Based on what my flyer says, that's what I'm going to be, and I'm going to give it everything I can. Thank you.